So a lot of my firm's more conservative clients have been very concerned this year by the congressional use of reconciliation as a process to put things through the Senate that otherwise would require 60 votes. And there's this fear that I hear pretty often about, will the use of reconciliation be broad, big, and bad? Well, let me just stop you. If you're not of that conservative perspective, you probably believe that the use of reconciliation that the conservative might think is big, bad, and broad would actually be great, a goal, and generous. But let's step back from all that, because that's all partisan politics, and I don't really do partisan politics. I do markets, and I stick to markets. And when we think about this, the process is fairly rigid. Using reconciliation only applies to certain kind of things. It doesn't allow for an awful lot of what would be the agenda that many people would hope for and other people would fear. The fact is, as we saw in the $1.9 trillion spending bill, they couldn't throw in an increase in minimum wage because it doesn't qualify for reconciliation on an awful lot of the things that relate to regulatory changes of law. Otherwise, as if you can't throw into a reconciliation bill. They will get knocked out. They will not be honored. And as we move forward from here, what I believe, as I've said in other places and recently, is that the margins in Congress are so thin that getting reconciliation through, even which allows for passage instead of at 60 in the Senate at 50, is perilously tough to do moving forward. Will there be some of that? Yes, I'm sure there will. But what it will require is enough agreement that the Democrats in the Senate, who otherwise are thought of as those further to the Democratic right or in seats that might be more in peril potentially in 2022, that they have to be prepared to sign on, because they've got to be able to they've got to keep every single one of those to put a reconciliation bill through at 50, or convert a couple of Republicans, which isn't easy to do since things are so logger jammed ideologically and there's so much bitterness on both sides going both ways, which is actually pretty unfortunate. But be that as it may, that both sides are so hostile to each other, that this is a very tight needle to put a thread through. And therefore, will there be some of it? Yeah, there'll be some of it. Will there be a lot of it? I don't think there will. And then I'll make the point that because that thread has to go through that very tiny needle in that process of trying to make that work, it takes longer. And as it takes longer, there's more time for markets to pre-price potential outcomes, digest it, and move on long before the legislation happens, which I believe is happening as we speak. And therefore, these features aren't as big or as bad as some people fear, other people hope. And you will see that as this year progresses, as we move through what's basically the infrastructure bill. And can I be wrong about this? Sure, because there can be unexpected events that come up and swing people over into a position they wouldn't have otherwise had as we speak today. But for the most part, it's going to be really tough to get big bills through. And as every month goes by, that's going to get tougher. So thank you for listening to this. But no, I don't really believe that there's a runaway issue of benefit or risk from the reconciliation process in the Senate. Thank you very much.
Subscribe to the Fisher Investment YouTube channel if you like what you've seen. Click the bell to be notified as soon as we publish new videos.